and welcome back to The Stage Door, presented by Canberra Arts right here on Rogers TV in Corner Brook, Newfoundland. This week, I'm here with Jerry Etienne, who is currently directing the production at Grenfell. Welcome to The Stage Door, Jerry. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you for having me.
So not only are you directing a show, you've just come off of sabbatical where you spent a lot of time actually working on getting some of these adaptations that you've been doing published, and this is a new adaptation of yours, all set in kind of similar worlds of farce, particularly French farce. So what would you say drew you to that genre?
Well, probably the main thing that draws me to that genre is how much fun you can have doing it and how much fun you give to an audience doing it. It's great fun to laugh and just have a great time and to create things that are a lot of fun to do in a rehearsal. So in our rehearsals, we we explore, we try to find the fun stuff, but we also focus a lot on the detail, and that really is the secret to farce, is detail. I like to think of farce as if you're looking at the different genres of theater, farce would probably be the most mathematical, like music is mathematical. Right? You have to be in this spot at this time, say the line, then sit. You can't sit and then say the line, or you lose the laugh. So it is very, very structured. I love that. I love that about it. And I think it's great for our students because it really gives them an idea of the discipline that it takes to do theater, that you can't just go willy-nilly and what do I feel today. You really need to have that structure in order for a play, any play, to work.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think often it's said, well, comedy is easier than drama. And it's like, they have their own challenges. And a lot of funny people struggle with farce because it's so specific and the beats and the buttons are so specific and clear, whether it's a door opening, a door closing, a sit, how you enter.
No,
Do you take 3 steps, stop,
Yep.
realize, go back, It's all so hyper-specific that it provides its own unique set of challenges, even for someone who is naturally funny.
That's right. And the thing about it too is that you may think that it is just that, that you basically do a paint by numbers show, but you also have to do all the work that is entailed in doing any kind of acting. You still have to, have your intentions and you have to know what your objective is and you have to have an obstacle and you have to do all the same stuff that you would do to create any character in a play. And then you have to adhere to this very strict structure, but it's still, you have to live in the moment of the play. You have to treat every moment seriously because you can't just say, look at me, how funny I am. Nobody will laugh. As soon as you say, look how funny I am, nobody will laugh. So you have to invest in the moment of the play while staying within this structure, and then that's what makes it work. The other tough thing about it, Ian, is that you start and you're in rehearsal and it works the first time and you laugh and laugh and laugh and you think, oh, isn't this funny? And then by the 30th time you've done it, you wonder, is it funny anymore? Because I'm not laughing, but I've seen it 30 times now. So opening the show last night, my stomach was in huge knots throughout the entire thing. When we got laughs, it was great. We had a relatively small house last night. I'm hoping that they all enjoyed it. I think they did. But with a small house, the laughs are not as, you don't hear them as clearly as you do with a large house. So it was fairly stressful sitting there going, did they get that one? Did they get that one? I could see the smiles on faces. But, when you're in a larger group, one person starts to laugh and then 2 other people join and then 5 people join them and so on and so on. And pretty soon you have the entire audience and they're very vocal. With a smaller house, they're less vocal and it's hard to tell. So if you're here in Corner Brook and you have nothing to do tomorrow and Friday and Saturday, please come out because a larger audience means a better reaction for us and we'll all have a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
And it's a tricky thing too because with any audience, with any show, it takes a while to bring them to the world that you've built.
Yeah.
So in a comedy or a farce, it does take that first person to laugh and it to trickle through. Usually the first jokes, it takes a while for jokes to start landing because any audience needs permission to engage in that way, to vocalize, to share the world with the cast, you know? So often it's very, I'm here to see a show, I'm going to be on my best behavior.
Yeah.
And particularly, I think, with school matinees, it's always
Yes.
quite fun when we bring an audience into a Graham Academy show. Sometimes it's like quiet, and it's like, you know, that teacher was like, now, you're in the theater, you do not do any, the kids are watching the show like that the whole time. So, but I think societally, we need to give ourselves that permission to laugh, right?
do.
Theater is going to make you laugh, it's going to make you cry. That's the core purpose, is to make you feel something.
Absolutely.
Those are the two extremes. But I think it's a wonderful thing to know that you have the permission to do that going into a space. And if you do it, then the cast has done their job.
Yep.
So I think that's an important note to talk about how this works. We've had you on the stage door before. We've spoken a lot about your roots in rural Saskatchewan, moving your way over, what brought you here to eventually work on campus, have that position. So this time, I'll pose the question a little differently. Not how it all began, but what made you stay at Grenfell in that theater program for as long as you have?
Well, I guess because every new class is a new challenge. And, you know, you might think that you get into a rut and you just do the same thing. You know, once you've taught a course, you teach the course. But that's not the way it works with this, because every student is different. Every student has different challenges. And as the times change, I mean, the students that I have now are completely different human beings than the students that I had, say, in 2015, 10 years ago. So much has changed in the world. And just dealing with, how do I now communicate with these people? And what are their thoughts about the world? And how can I help them to express that and express it clearly and articulately? That's the challenge. And it's so very rewarding when you see them overcome all the obstacles that are in the way of them doing that. I say to all my actors, the trick to acting, if there is a trick to acting, there's one trick. You just got to get out of your own way. And it's so true, because, you know, as we grow up, we put barriers up against ourselves. Well, we don't put barriers up. We put things up to protect ourselves, because the world is a scary place, and we all are afraid of something. And we all do things to protect ourselves from being hurt, from being embarrassed, you know, from being found out sometimes. And in today's world, it is so very easy to be hurt, to be embarrassed, because we are the net, the internet, you know, social media can be a wonderful thing, can be a very, very, very frightening thing as well. And young people that are coming in, I find today, are facing much larger challenges as far as feeling free to express themselves than they were 10 years ago. And trying to pull them out of that shell and have them actually express what they are feeling is a little tougher job. It takes a little more patience. You know, I used to be a lot more demanding 10 years ago than I am now. Now I've realized, I've learned a lot doing this, you know.
Yeah.
I think I've realized that instead of trying to say, this is how you do it this way, it has to be much more what I see in them, and me listening to them much more than me telling them. So listening, taking what I hear and seeing if I can shape that in such a way, or help them from what I hear. And I've really discovered that my job really is not to judge them, you know, and say, oh, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you have to do it this way, but to try to help them. Because art is changing so rapidly that I think I'd be foolish to say I can keep up, because I don't know what's in their minds, and I don't know where they're going to take us. All I can do is try to help them to find the freedom and the what's the word? The confidence to be able to say what they mean and what they feel and what they want to say, the way they want to say it, and be confident that what they're doing is clear and articulate and can be understood, because that's, it has to be. Otherwise, why do it?
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just you're creating art, but does it really speak to anybody? So you have to be clear. You have to express yourself articulately, and that's what I try to teach them. And then it's up to them. Then they can say what they want to say, what they have to say.
No, absolutely. I think it's a very interesting time, and it's easy to say that it all lies here, and I think that's a big part of it. You hear it all the time, and I catch myself saying it as someone who has had at this point more of my life with a phone than without. I think.
Yep.
Still, I'm like, well, that's the problem. That's the root of all the problems. And I think while it is that, we're also learning and adapting and growing and finding many ways, to work on, okay, instead of this, these short form videos that get us that dopamine burst, what about short form learning, that we're able to learn some facts really quickly? We're in such an era that the digital world's there. It's going to be there. It's going to evolve ahead of us faster than we can even think it will evolve. By the time with AI as a great leading example that's been very involved, particularly in the arts, that there are right now AI accesses IPs that should not be accessed and makes something out of them. There's no artist, but there's about 10 artists that it took from.
Yep.
So it's a very, very interesting time. Now, I forget who the director was, but there was a film director who typed in, a film about this in the style of me, this director. I think it might have been Oliver Stone or someone like that, with a significant style, and it pumped something out, and it was not bad. And that's a very interesting time that
it is,
that we're in.
But you have to wonder though how it can evolve, because it draws on what's already there.
Yeah.
Right, and it makes various permutations and combinations of what's already there. And I suppose in a way that is how we evolve as artists. We draw on what we've seen and what we've experienced in art that's been created in the past, and then we manipulate that into what we do. But when you see something that's really fresh, really new, something completely different, that's the most exciting stuff. And I don't know that AI can do that. I don't know, because I'm not very tech savvy. But
no, we're in a different era in many ways.
Yeah.
I think for us at Canberra, we're talking about how to make the work that we do, what makes it worthwhile to get off the couch.
Yeah.
Now you have
so much.
Some houses have Netflix, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus. That's 1,000 things you can watch.
Yeah.
There's National Theatre at home. There's Rogers on Channel 9 in Corner Brook. But there's many options, So I think that's certainly the big question in theater, and I'm sure in a theater school as much as it is in our charitable not-for-profit, we're asking how can we make sure that what we're doing is relevant. We're getting our summer season ready to announce what we have in store, and some elements are, okay, we're doing this, these are our live elements, but what else can we do with this? Is there some recording that can happen so it's accessible in a different way? Is there an app eventually that can come out of this? Making things multi-platform is really a big question that we're toying with, and how to facilitate that. We're very fortunate that we have a lot of tech equipment that allows us to do that and to have those ideas at least.
Right.
But it's an interesting time. So how has that impacted theater education?
Well, I think it definitely has had an impact on it, because we're not We're not teaching in the same way as we used to. Just the simple fact of attention spans, for instance. Teaching, when you're teaching, it's like entertaining in a way, because you have to keep the attention of your students, and that's a challenge. The other impact that it's had is you're right. It's difficult to bring people in. We have so much competition now. What I think is important about coming to see live theater is that it is live and that you're sitting in a group of people and you're actually in a social environment, as opposed to being alone in your house sitting in front of a tube. It's direct contact. The people on the stage are live. Something could go wrong. It's exciting to not know that this is all pre-planned, all set. It's going to be what it's going to be, and what you've heard from other people is going to be exactly what you see. There's always a chance that something different is going to happen. Yeah. I don't know. It's difficult. We still try to stay with the basics of what makes an actor, what makes an artist, and I know that's evolving and changing, but at the root, I think that it's still the same thing. You still have to have the same skills to be able to do what you do. And like I said before, it is evolving so quickly that I can tell you I can't keep up. So what I try to do is I try to give my students the skills to move forward and grow with all of that technology, but have the foundation to be able to now take all that and be able to do something with it.
Yeah, I think that's the key, and it's been before we talk about this upcoming show, Tinkering Tailor, I want to take a moment to say it's been a very busy week in Corner Brook. The Rotary Music Festival has been well underway, and a very busy week at Canberra Arts. The week before the festival started, we actually had Artistic Fraud in doing a workshop on Men of the Year, which was so fun to have those folks in our building, 30 artists from around the province and around the country, working on a brand new musical based on the music of Sean Panting, and new drafts every day, and 7 local artists were part of the choir in this production. For those who were able to catch the workshop performance at the Arts and Culture Centre, it was a really, really lovely evening. And of course, then we had the Stars of Tomorrow taking the stage with the Rotary Music Festival, which was a real gift. And folks, in Corner Brook, Stars of the Festival is happening tomorrow on Friday. It's going to be a real treat. So get your tickets at the Arts and Culture box office for that. There were a lot of amazing performances. It's always a treat when adjudicators come from away and get to be in Corner Brook. And most of our adjudicators came from the St. John's area, but we had, David Pomeroy coming in and seeing our classical singers and noting that there is something special here. Right. And Dr. David Chafe and Jacinta Mackey-Graham and Dylan Maddox, all very established people saying, whoa, there's something really cool here. And that's so exciting to hear, when you're working on education. Actually, Jacinta recommended one of the students audition for Grenfell. Now, she's only grade 11, so it's not going to happen yet, but I think that was awesome to see a musical theater performance, to say your acting is so strong, you have to go that way. So it was a really, really special week. And also this week, along with all that, we have the Tinkering Tailor. Great show, to say fast. So I'm sure the cast is having a lot of fun. So in our kind of, as we head toward the end of this episode, what do folks need to understand? What do they get out of coming to see this show? Well,
there's an awful lot of stuff going on in the world right now. A lot of stress. People are worried about a lot of things. And I can guarantee you that when you come to see the Tinkering Tailor, you will not hear anything about tariffs. You won't hear anything about all of the issues that are going on in the world. There are so many that could go on for days. It's a chance for an audience to come sit for less than 2 hours. It's not a terribly long play. It's about I would say 90 or 100 minutes, and just have a laugh. Just have a laugh. very bright, brilliant costume set, a bunch of students that are so energetic, it's going to knock your socks off. Laugh after laugh after laugh after laugh after laugh. Fast-paced plot, fairly easy to follow, not terribly complex plot, but fun and easy to follow. What else can I tell you? Some fun music, a little bit of audience participation, a little bit. What else can I tell you about that? You might want to come just to see Mike Payne's costume. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Mike Payne, but Mike's been in the industry now here in Corner Brook quite a lot, and also around the province. Has worked for various radio stations in town. And Mike, for the very first time in his career, is doing a farce. And Mike, for the very first time in his career, is playing a woman. And he is hilarious.
So I'm sure that's going to be quite a treat.
Yeah.
And along with the company that you have from the school, you have Mike, who was one of the first graduates of the program, and you have James Squires, who was a more recent graduate of the program. So what has it been, not only to work with the students that are there now, but for them to have a chance to work with these other performers that went through the program or at different stages of their career, for not only them, but also for you to kind of have that in the room?
I think it's fantastic because they can see where recent graduate James Squires has come in the past couple of years. They can see what Mike has done with his career, and they are both very, very, very professional, behaving professionally most of the time in rehearsal, but having a lot of fun. And I think that's important too, that our students realize that this is a lot of fun. It can be a lot of fun, but they also do the work. They really do the work. They come into rehearsals and they're prepared. They bring things. They bring in their ideas, which is great, so that the director doesn't have to say, well, why don't we try this and why don't we try this all of the time, because they have their own ideas and they come in, and that's exciting for the students. So they see professional actors at work, and that's important for them because it just gives them something to aspire to. And that's very exciting. And but don't get me wrong. I mean, these students are pretty awesome. I had somebody say to me last night that they thought that when they found out that Mike was going to be in the show and James was going to be in the show, that they would see a couple of people that were far superior to the students, and then the rest of them would be student performances. And they said they were pleasantly surprised to see that the students came up to the challenge, and there wasn't, for some of the students at least, there wasn't a huge gap between the professionals and the students. Yeah. And that is a real feather in their cap, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's always value in that. We are so fortunate in Corner Brook. When we did Oliver, we were able to have so many professional performers that wanted to be a part of that world, and it encourages every other person to say, whoa, I want to do that, and everyone works a little harder and works together so well, and feels supported. Mike is certainly a cheerleader, I think, for every company that he works with and every cast that he shares the stage with. Yep. And I'm sure James is as well. But I think that's such a gift as a student to get to work with alumni and share and see how that builds up the world. And it's certainly something quite special that I think happens at Grenfell. A lot more than other centers that you get to work with alumni. You get to work with professors sometimes in shows. And it just encourages you to bring yourself up, not only by the direction, but by being surrounded by folks that are putting that work in. You're seeing that and saying, whoa, I got to put the work in too. I want to make sure I do my part in this. And I think that's great. And I think, again, we are in an era that we need some escapism, so I think how you get it, a comedy is a great way to get it at Grenfell. Tickets are available for the Tinkering Tailor. You could go online. I know there's some issues earlier this week with the online server, but I think they're resolved now.
I think we got those resolved,
At the door as well, but again, because of those issues, it might sell out as the week goes on because a lot of people maybe didn't get to opening because of those issues, and hopefully will be coming on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. So that's April 3rd, 4th, and 5th at the Grenfell Theatre. You can catch the Tinkering Tailor. Great chance for a laugh. I think there's a talkback on Thursday.
Talkback Thursday, yes.
So that's a great time. There's a Pay What You Can day too now for.
Thursday is Pay What You Can as well.
Also, there you go.
Yes,
so
and students,
it's amazing.
is all Pay What You Can.
So, you know, Grenfell is really removing barriers, not only for students, but for the community to do a Pay What You Can. That means it can be $0. It can be $50. It can be $500.
Yeah.
But pay what you can, and it certainly goes a long way to supporting this program and these young artists. And as well, Friday, April 4th, that's your chance to see Stars at the Festival. It's always a wonderful concert, and this year is no exception. There are some really, really brilliant performances. Special congratulations from the stage door to Sophie Sims, who won the Senior Rose Bowl, and to Lauren Collins, who won the Junior Rose Bowl last night. And to all of those who performed in the Rose Bowl competition. It was a real gift to be able to watch and see these folks take their performances to another level. It was really, really special. So folks, that's it for us at the stage door. Tinkering Tailor, Stars of the Festival, and a whole lot of other events coming up from the Arts and Culture Centre and the Rotary Arts Centre. And stay tuned too, because the summer season is getting announced in Western Newfoundland. We have Grossmorn Theatre Festival, Stephenville Theatre Festival, and of course, Canberra Arts right here in Corner Brook. So really stay tuned. Give those folks a follow, because it's going to be a busy summer if you can schedule to go to all of them. So that's it for us at the stage door, presented by Canberra Arts, and we'll see you next week.